Within me is eternal innocence, because it is God's will that it be there forever and forever. I, his son, whose will is limitless, as his own can will, no change in this. For to deny my Father's will is to deny my own, my own. To look within is but to find my will as God created it and as it is. I fear to look within because I think I made another will that is not true and made it real. I fear to look within because I think I made another will that is not true and made it real. Yet it has no effects. Within me is the holiness of God. Within me is the memory. Within me is the memory of God. I will not fear to look within today. I will not fear to look within today. The step I take today, my Father, is my sure release from idle dreams of sin. The step I take today, my Father, is my sure release from idle dreams of sin. Your altar stands serene. Your altar stands serene and undefiled. It is the holy altar to myself, and there I find my true identity. I will not fear to look within today. I will not fear to look within today. I will not fear to look within today. Well, thank you all so much for joining me in studying A Course in Miracles. We're reading from the Foundation for Inner Peace version, but it'll be the same as the original edition. If you're following along out of that, you can follow right along. It'll be about exactly the same. What is this? And this is lesson 309, and it's for Wednesday, November the 5th of 2025. And this is A Course in Miracles. We're reading from the Foundation for Inner Peace version, but like I said, you can follow along in the original edition. And it's actually Sunday morning for me, and I'm so glad you've come to join me. I will not fear to look within today. What's all that about? Well, you know, particularly some of us that are from a more conservative Christian background might have been trained to not look within because of you know, kind of comparing it to Buddhist or yoga or Eastern thought, where the fear that the devil will take over your mind if you look within. But we don't need to be afraid of that. The deeper we look, the more light we find, the more oneness we have with God. Remember, He's to be found in the small, still voice. So let this lesson help backwash thoughts that you've held in the past that kept you from seeing the value of being still and quiet and listening to God within. I will not fear to look within today. Do a longer practice period in the morning and again in the evening. And where you sit silent and look within. At that my teacher used to say that time between awake and asleep is where revelation comes to you. Well, let that be a time where you learn to do that. When you first wake up in the morning, go into this quiet place. I will not fear to look within today. And then do it again at night before you go to bed. Just keep practicing until you make some breakthroughs. And you find yourself at the altar of holiness inside. And be sure to look at your old thought systems and let go of the ones that aren't serving you. I was recently talking to a member of my family that was telling me about how that when he got really upset, he resorts to the violence. And I said, well, that's something you want to rethink through before you get into the state of violence. You don't want to use that as a relief valve that you're going to be angry, because that would be contrary to oneness, which he may not understand at this point. But it certainly is going to cause a lot of grievances if you're going to resort to violence. And we want to learn to look at the thoughts that we're holding and learn more and more to accept God's holiness inside, the altar of holiness, which is where we're one with God inside. Okay, well, anyway, let's go look at our associated reading, which is okay, let me find it. Hang on just a moment, turning back from lesson 309. Go back to what would, right before lesson 301. What is the second coming? Our associated reading. Christ's second coming, which is sure as God, is merely the correction of mistakes and the return of sanity. It is a part of the condition that restores the never lost and reestablishes what is forever and forever true. It is the invitation to God's Word to take illusion's place, the willingness to let forgiveness rest upon all things without exception and without reserve. It is the all-inclusive nature of Christ's second coming that permits it to embrace the world and hold you safe within its gentle advent, which encompasses all living things with you. There is no end to the release the second coming brings, as God's creation must be limitless. Forgiveness lights the second coming's way, because it shines on everything as one, and thus is oneness recognized at last. The second coming ends the lessons that the Holy Spirit teaches, making way for the last judgment, in which learning ends in one last summary that will extend beyond itself and reaches up to God. The second coming is the time in which all minds are given to the hands of Christ, to be returned to spirit in the name of true creation and the will of God. The second coming is the one event in time which time itself cannot affect. For everyone who ever came to die or yet will come, or who is present now, is equally released from what he made. In this equality is Christ restored as one identity, and God the Father In this equality is Christ restored as one identity, in which the sons of God acknowledge that they all are one, and God the Father smiles upon His Son, His one creation, and His only joy. That reminds me of, after God created the heavens and the earth, He said, and it is good. He says, and God the Father smiles upon His Son, His one creation, and His only joy. Pray that the second coming will be soon, but do not rest with that. It needs your eyes and ears and hands and feet. It needs your voice, and most of all, it needs your willingness. Let us rejoice that we can do God's will and join together in its holy light. Behold, the Son of God is one in us, and we can reach our Father's love through Him. Okay, well, let's reach our Father's love through the Christ, through seeing God in everyone, by seeing love everywhere. Don't let there be any exceptions. That's where we use forgiveness to guide us in and on, inside and onward. Onward Christian soldiers, huh? Okay, let's go take a look in our Manual for Teachers reading, which we're ready for number 14. How will the world end? Okay, so how will the world end? And be sure to keep in mind all through the day, every hour of the day, try to bring this to your memory. I will not fear to look within today. And then look within. Make sure you're at peace. Find something to be thankful for. Give God thanks for lots of things. The world's full of things to give thanks for. So it's a weakness that we hold when we can't think of something to be thankful for. So let's become strong by finding things to thank God for. And then ask Him for direction as you look within. Find out what to do in the next hour. And then after the hour's over, give Him thanks for the things that happened and ask for direction for the next hour. So do that throughout the day. How will the world end? Can what has no beginning really end? The world will end in an illusion as it began. Yet will its ending be an illusion of mercy, the illusion of forgiveness, complete, excluding no one. Limitless in gentleness will cover it, hiding all evil, concealing all sin, and ending guilt forever. Okay, that's how the world will end, when you take the last illusion, the illusion of forgiveness, and apply it to everything. Let's read it again. The illusion of forgiveness. He calls it forgiveness as an illusion because there's really nothing to forgive. We're all seated in heavenly places with Christ, soaring in happiness. I say we're seated. That's a Bible verse, but we're actually enraptured in God and are everywhere with God. Everyone's our brother in heaven, and we can access that now. You don't have to die to get there. The illusion of forgiveness, complete, excluding no one, limitless in gentleness will cover it, hiding all evil, concealing all sin, and ending guilt forever. So ends the world that guilt had made, for now it has no purpose and is gone. The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose, that they serve a need or gratify a want. The father of all illusions is the belief, okay? The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose, that they serve a need or gratify a want. Perceived as purposeless, they no longer are seen. Perceived as purposeless, they are no longer seen. Their uselessness is recognized and they are gone. But how but in this way are all illusions ended? They have been brought to truth, and truth saw them not. It merely overlooked the meaningless. So that's why we want to look within to decide what are those thoughts we're holding that are just going to get us into trouble, that are going to take our peace away, that are going to involve us in warmongering. What are the thoughts that we can do? It's all the thoughts that father illusions. We want to look at those again from the holy place inside. That's why we want to do our lesson today. I will not fear to look within today. You'll have lots of fears to look within if you harbor guilt, because what you hold against others, you'll believe is being done to you. It's a two-edged sword in that respect. That's why we have to forgive completely, so that we can look within and learn even more subtle areas of unforgiveness that we've been holding and let them go. Paragraph 2. Until forgiveness is complete, the world does have a purpose. It becomes the home in which forgiveness is born. Catch that. Until forgiveness is complete, the world does have a purpose. It becomes the home in which forgiveness is born, and where it grows and becomes stronger and more all-embracing. Here is it nourished, for here it is needed. A gentle Savior born where sin was made and guilt seemed real. Here is His home, for here there is need of Him indeed. He brings the ending of the world with Him. It is His call God's teachers answer, turning to Him in silence to receive His word. The world will end when all things in it have been rightly judged by His judgment. The world will end with the benediction of holiness upon it. When not one thought of sin remains, the world is over. when not one thought of sin remains. Can we get to that place? We can. Let's do it. The world will end with the benediction of holiness upon it. When not one thought of sin remains, the world is over. It will not be destroyed, nor attacked, nor even touched. It will merely cease to seem to be. Paragraph 3. Certainly this seems to be a long, long while away. When not one thought of sin remains appears to be a long-range goal indeed. But time stands still and waits on the goal of God's teachers. But time stands still and waits on the goal of God's teachers. Not one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts atonement for himself. It is not easier to forgive one sin than to forgive all of them. Keep that in mind. It is not easier to forgive one sin than it is to forgive all of them. The illusion of orders of difficulty is an obstacle the teacher of God must learn to pass by and leave behind. Wow, so one sin to forgive is no harder to forgive than to forgive all the sins. That's simply a belief you're still holding of order of difficulties. And so he addresses that. The illusion of order of difficulty is an obstacle the teacher of God must learn to pass by and leave behind. One sin perfectly forgiven by one teacher of God can make salvation complete. Okay, I got that one underlined. One sin perfectly forgiven by one teacher of God can make salvation complete. Can you understand this? No, it is meaningless to anyone here. Yet it is the final lesson in which unity is restored. It goes against all the thinking of the world, but so does heaven. Heaven goes against all the thinking of the world. And we want to be seated in heavenly places with Christ in our awareness, not just in our reality, which is the truth. But let's join up with it in this world, by letting this world go and seeing beauty in place of it, holiness in place of it, God in place of it. Practice forgiveness. Look within. Find areas that you can let go of. Let your life be a life filled with looking within and having no fear, but joyfully letting go of unforgivenesses. Thoughts that God doesn't think. Paragraph 4. The world will end when its thought system has been completely reversed. Until then, bits and pieces of its thinking will still seem sensible. The final lesson, which brings the ending of the world, cannot be grasped by those not yet prepared to leave the world and go beyond its tiny reach. So we want to get prepared by looking within today and have no fear. What then is the function of the teacher of God in this concluding lesson? He need merely learn how to approach it, to be willing to go in its direction. Just the willingness to go in that direction is all you need. Your part's little, just to be willing. Holy Spirit does all the heavy lifting. He need merely learn how to approach it, to be willing to go in its direction. He need merely trust that if God's voice tells him it is a lesson he can learn it. He does not judge it either as hard or easy. His teacher points to it, and he trusts that he will show him how to learn it. And the last paragraph, 5. The world will end in joy, because it is a place of sorrow. When joy has come, the purpose of the world has gone. The world will end in peace, because it is a place of war. Wow. So we want to look within and find all those thoughts that we're ready to attack and let them go before we end up in the situation where we might use them. So that when we get to that situation, we can go, oh yeah, I've already practiced this. This is easy stuff. I don't live in this world. I'm a heavenly minded man or woman. The world will end in peace because it is a place of war. When peace has come, what is the purpose of the world? The world will end in laughter because it is a place of tears. Where then is laughter? Where there is laughter, who can longer weep? Let's stay in the happy love frequency, the happy frequency, the laughter frequency. Where there is laughter, who can longer weep? The world will end in laughter because it is a place of tears. Where there is laughter, who can longer weep? And only complete forgiveness brings all this to bless the world. And only complete forgiveness brings all this to bless the world. In blessing it departs, for it will not end as it began. To turn hell into heaven is the function of God's teachers. For what they teach are lessons in which heaven is reflected. And now sit down in true humility and realize that all God would have you do, you can do. Do not be arrogant and say you cannot learn His own curriculum. His word says otherwise. His will be done. It cannot be otherwise. And be you thankful it is so. Do not be arrogant and say you cannot learn His own curriculum. His word says otherwise. His will be done. It cannot be otherwise. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven be our prayer. But in reality, that's the only thing that is occurring is God's will. Everything else is a dream to wake up from through the practice of forgiveness. So go inside. I will not fear to look within today and practice forgiveness. His will is done. It cannot be otherwise. And be you thankful it is so. Okay, well, let's see. What holidays are going on around in the world today? It's Guru Nanak Dev Sahib's birthday. I thought we had that a few days ago, but I found that it's today also. That's for the Sikhs. Nativity fast begins for the Eastern Orthodox Christians. I also found that it's called Dev Diwali today for the Hindus, which I thought Diwali was already over, but evidently this is Dev Diwali today for some folks. In Catholic tradition, it's the parents of John the Baptist's feast day. That's Elizabeth and Zachariah. Zachariah the priest, and Elizabeth was the cousin to Mary. So Jesus, or was I think, yeah, they were. Anyway, I know that they were related. I forget how exactly, but Jesus and John the Baptist were actually cousins, because I think Mary and Elizabeth, maybe they were sisters. I'm not exactly sure, but they were related. You have to look it up in Luke chapter 1. Okay, let's see. Out of holidays and observances, it's American Football Day. Bank Transfer Day. That's where you voluntarily switch from a commercial bank to a not-for-profit credit union. Commercial TV Broadcast Day. Firewood Day. Time to pull in some firewood for the winter, huh? It's Guy Fawkes Day and Gunpowder Day, which is based on the failed gunpowder plot of 1605, where Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament and kill King James. It was failed, though. International Stress Awareness Day. So let's learn to go inside and relieve our stress by the practice of forgiveness. Block It Out Day. Learn to block out those things that pull you back into hell. Eating Healthy Day. It's also Donut Day, which is not eating healthy. And Play Monopoly Day and World Tsunami Awareness Day. And then we've got a Lacinato Kale out of Seed Savers Exchange. So let me read about the Lacinato Kale. It's a Brassica oleracea, and it says also known as the Toscana or the dinosaur kale. This Italian variety bears crinkly blue-green leaves and reportedly dates to the 18th century. Its 3-inch wide by 10 to 18-inch long pendant leaves are attractive enough for ornamental borders and have an excellent mild flavor that is enhanced by frost. Best eaten when leaves are small and tender. 62 days from transplant. Wow, it looks like it'd be a nice border plant for the winter. Okay, are we ready to close with our song? I think we are. Let me see if I can get set here. I will not fear to look within today. So you do the best you can at doing that very thing. I'm having a little I've got my book sitting on a flower pot, and I'm trying to get things to stay here so the wind doesn't blow it while I'm and my flower pot's not quite big enough. I'm gonna have to, let's just so I can reset it here just a minute so that it stays put. And then we'll sing our lesson, which is, I will not fear to look within today. Or maybe you could say it in the positive. I will be happy to look within today. Of course, that won't be 10 syllables. I will not fear to look within. Well, maybe it is. Anyway. I will not fear to look within today. I will not fear to look within today. Within me is eternal innocence, because it is God's will that it be there forever and forever. I, his son, whose will is limitless, as is his own, can will no change in this. For to deny my Father's will is to deny my own, my own. To look within is but to find my will as God created it and as it is. I fear to look within because I think I made another will that is not true and made it real. Yet it has no effects. Within me is the holiness of God. Within me is the memory. Within me is the memory of God. Let's find it. I will not fear to look within today. I will not fear to look within today. The step I take today, my Father, is my sure release from idle dreams of sin. Your altar stands serene, your altar stands serene and undefiled. It is the holy altar to myself, and there I find my true identity. I will not fear to look within today. I will not fear to look within today. And our word for peace is from the Bisha people of Sudan. They're on the Red Sea coastal hills in Africa, and it's Sidda. I will not fear to look within today. Sidda.